Okay, welcome everybody to the September 18th, 2023 meeting of the Wisconsin Climate Action Team. We have another packed agenda today. We will be sharing the agenda on the screen in the room and via Zoom screen share very shortly. And before that, I'll talk us through it. So we're calling to order at 6:05 p.m. Just as a friendly reminder, we have a member of the public listening in. So members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions or give comments up to 5 minutes later, 5 minutes each later in the meeting. If it's not disruptive, we may consider answering brief questions during relevant parts of the agenda, but not at the detriment of moving through our agenda. So with that, the first item on our agenda is to approve the September 6th meeting minutes. Did anybody have any comments on the minutes or not have the opportunity to look them over? Because we can put them on the screen and then do a quick review if needed later in the meeting. Okay, no comments. So are there any objections to approving the meeting minutes from last Tuesday? No. On Zoom, no objections, it looks like. Okay, so we approved our September 6th meeting minutes. Thank you very much. Okay. So with that, I may jump around slightly in the agenda to talk through things that we can discuss without having to project at first, and then move back in the agenda for those of you following along. So I'm going to jump forward to talk about our service provider, Sri Viral, who unfortunately has been dealing with some medical issues. She has let me know that she might have to take a little bit of time. She's assessing how this is going to impact her ability to continue working with our committee. So I have a call scheduled tomorrow with the Region 1 coordinator for the Community Resilience Partnership, and we touch base with the governor's office as well to see what they say about getting some alternative support for our Community Resilience Partnership enrollment. There are other resources. We have the Lincoln County Planning and Development Commission right here in Wisconsin to help. Our town assigned planner is there, and she's part of the partnership service provider network as well. So we will be able to get some support. We just have a little bit of a transition time. I think personally that may affect our timeline of when we can apply for the Community Resilience Partnership. Shree's personal timeline of when she had capacity within her grant term meant that we were working towards a partnership enrollment of late November or by Thanksgiving. However, I'm going to find out if that's still the case with the other service providers, or whether we might have a little bit of flexibility. So just, Peter, I'm going to ask you to go on mute.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So just as a friendly reminder, the Community Resilience Partnership is something we can apply for at any time. The climate action grants that we're also interested in applying for, we do not yet have a due date for when our proposals will be due to GOPIP. However, I did learn from talking with Shree and Emily Rabi at Lincoln County Planning and Development Commission that it's likely that we will get the deadline will be in late March or in the winter. So one thing I wanted to bring up today is that we may have a little bit longer time period to put together our climate action grant application. And I think that's really helpful because it will allow us to focus on partnership enrollment and prioritization application and really sort through the feedback and to have a little bit more time to incorporate that feedback into our grant application. Hi, thank you. Okay, for those in the online in the room, I now have my adapter so we can start sharing documents on the screen for my very kind husband.
Is Shri the service provider for Damariscotta as well as Boothbay?
I don't believe Damariscotta. I believe she's the provider for Boothbay, Boothbay Harbor, and Southport. And those three towns, I know that those three towns in Wiscasset had an early meeting, I think in May, but those three towns are coordinating on their public meetings, and Wiscasset, we've been operating a little more independently.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you for your patience while we get things up on the screen. Perfect. Okay. All right, zoom this in. Thanks, everybody. And Evan, so since you came in at the tail end of that spiel, Shri Verrill is having some health issues and may need to take some time, and medical leave. So we are, I will be talking with BOCIF's Region 1 Community Partnership Coordinator to assess what our alternatives are for getting assistance for our application to enroll in Community Resilience Partnership. It's likely that the Community Action Grant deadline won't be until the winter, possibly as late as late March. And so we have a little bit of time and flexibility on that Community Action Grant. And we could use that time to focus on our partnership application in the meantime. Okay, so just, yep, right here. Okay. So yes, so I should have some information that I can share via email with all of you in the next few days about our support. I think we're doing really well. The Lincoln County Planning and Development Commission and regional coordinators have folks on hand who can assist us with our public meetings. They can help us facilitate, and they can also help connect us with experts. So I don't think this will result in a meaningful delay. It's just a matter of, do we really still want to push to enroll by Thanksgiving, or do we want to take a little bit of extra time, depending on what the service provider's availability is and timing of and everything.
What I'm hearing you say is there's no reason to do it quickly. We're not losing anything if we don't do it in October.
There is no reason to try to enroll by October. Shri originally had, let's see, actually, I want to pull up the timeline now and pull this over here. So Shri had originally laid out the timeline based on her time and availability as a service provider, for which she had received a grant from the governor's office. So she had a certain amount of time and hours available to dedicate to helping Wiscasset enroll in the partnership. And so she had provided us with a handy checklist and potential timeline based on the assumption that we might enroll in the partnership by early November. She was also aiming to help us apply for the Community Action Grant at that same time. It is like, she told me that it's likely BOCIF will have another round of service provider grants early next year. So we'll have, I think, continued access to support for that Community Action Grant application if we want it early next year. We can also work with the regional coordinators who.
Just so I'm clear, the Community Action Grant would actually come out of public workshops to figure out what we were focusing on and what the grant would be for, correct?
It would, the Community Action Grant will be informed by the feedback that we get
from the public. Okay.
Yeah, from the public, exactly. So one of the things I want to talk through with you all today was just the timeline of the enrollment requirements. I'm gonna open up, I wanted to review again really quickly with everybody what the requirements are for the Community Resilience Partnership application, because I think it'll really help us to focus some of our work and a lot of the time that we're spending on discussing those enrollment requirements. So we have to do a few things to enroll in the partnership. Oh, and I apologize, folks online, I haven't been sharing my screen. And I will go ahead and share this screen. Okay. Sorry, my computer is requiring me to modify my settings. All right, let's see if this works.
Yep.
All right, folks online can see what we're seeing. Perfect. Okay. So yes, so we have to do a few things in order to enroll in the Community Resilience Partnership. We've started the process of completing a community resilience self-evaluation. One thing that we still need to do is go through the list of community actions. That's the exhaustive list of different strategies and specific actions under all the strategies under the state climate action plan. That's something that our work with the public meetings will really help us to help prioritize. We have to hold public workshops to review the self-assessment results. So those are the surveys that we took back in July. And then prioritize potential projects for implementation. So we need to document the meeting agendas, participants, the minutes, and priority action lists, and describe how we are ensuring robust community engagement with our public meetings. And then, this is it's listed a little out of order. We need to work with the town select board on adopting a municipal resolution to designate a citizen committee or an employee to coordinate activities that would reduce energy use and costs, essentially climate action. The reason why this comes after is that the municipal resolution needs to refer to the public workshops that we hold. So this is something that we're gonna need to look forward to doing in probably November, depending on when we time our workshops and the amount of time it will take us to sort through all of the feedback and recommend some priorities. But this is something that we can reach out to Terry Heller, who attended our meeting last week, to talk through with the select board about just ideal timing for passing a municipal resolution. So yes, so I think with that, after talking extensively with Sri and Emily, I wanted to bring this all to you so we could think through what we really need to get done by, say, November or even early December, and how we can use that to inform our climate action grant or community action grant application. So any quick questions on those enrollment requirements or the timeline or anything I've shared? Anything on the Zoom from our committee members? Oh, and I see Terry's with us. Hi, Terry. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Cassie, I heard you say that you wanted me to explain something with a whiteboard, and I thought, I can't see a whiteboard. I missed what it was that you wanted me to do, and probably not this meeting.
Not at all. So
Good, good.
we
No performing today.
not performing at all today. Yes. So Terry, we're going to talk through this municipal resolution. This is something that the town select board would need to pass.
Right.
There is a template that we can follow to make this really easy. But this is something that we'll do after we hold our 2 public meetings, our 2 public workshops.
Got
so
it.
We'll work with you on aiming for ideal timing and what the content of that resolution would be, what we recommend.
Deal. I look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Great, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. So yes, more information to come on getting assistance, but these are my personal notes, apologies. I'm going to bring over a different agenda, a little bit cleaner agenda over here. Yes, but I think we're in good shape. Okay. So one additional thing that I wanted to chat through was, and this may be a little bit of a moot point if Shri is unable to continue helping us through the end of this year, but she felt that she didn't have a ton of time left in her contract to help us with the actual application materials and the meetings. So she just wanted to communicate that she'd love to work with us and work through me to prioritize any requests that we had for her as a committee, in addition to the Community Resilience Partnership enrollment. So I know she's been really kind in working with a bunch of folks on helping us gather information for some of the specific emerging opportunities, but just wanted to flag to everybody that she does have limited time. So depending on the service provider support that we get, we just want to be really cognizant. So I wanted to make a request that if you have a request for our service provider for something outside the partnership enrollment, please get in touch with me. I can work with you on wording that and also seeing if it's within the scope of the service provider services that she has the grant to do. And we can just make sure we're really maximizing the use of the service provider time. And I know, Marty, we were going to touch on the energy audit work in a few minutes. Okay. So great. Any questions or comments before we maybe back up to the draft charter that we want to finalize?
Cassie, hey, it's Leslie. Good job. You're doing an amazing job running the meeting, so thank you for your hard work. So from what you say, the deadline for us to apply for this, the community action grant that's been pushed out, but we're still going to hold the public meetings as we had originally planned, October, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think we'll talk through what those dates will be in just a couple of minutes here. But
Okay.
yes, I think the public meetings will really help us to prepare for our Community Resilience Partnership enrollment. And they will help us inform or help us prioritize potential projects for that grant application. But the grant application doesn't need to be submitted probably until the winter. So we'll have a little more time than we thought we did for that grant application.
Since we're losing Shri, she was going to provide us with a lot of templates and formats for press release and mailers and things like that. Has she shared that with you?
I have not gotten that. It's not clear yet whether or not we're going to lose her completely, but we do have support from the service provider network that GoFIP has funded. So we should still be able to get support for those press releases and templates and everything.
Okay, thank you. I mean, we don't have a lot of time. If we need to send these out 2 weeks before the first public meeting, we're getting nigh on to the deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope to have more clarity tomorrow after talking with the regional coordinator.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Cassie, it's Jan. Is it time to talk about the dates then?
Perhaps we could very quickly chat about the charter and then just get that out of the way and
Okay.
then move to the dates.
So Cassie, I didn't do anything on the charter. I've been out straight, sorry.
Right, all right. I actually incorporated the edits that we suggested in our last meeting, and I think we're really close to being able to finalize. So I'm happy to walk through that now.
Thanks, Cassie.
Okay, so hopefully this is our final version of our charter. The changes that have happened since the last meeting are, Jen very kindly, I think Shri put in the mission. So our simple mission to provide local leadership to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and increase climate resilience by prioritizing projects for funding and implementation. We have our responsibilities. The one comment and substantial change I wanted to suggest is that we take out completing 2 community action lists over the next 2 years, because that is inherent within maintaining our town's eligibility for the community resilience partnership and grants.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody want to keep that in? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that out, and apologies, I'm just moving a couple things around here. So, okay. I believe the rest of this is the same. I just moved our actual membership list up a little bit and brought it up to date. And moved the Community Resilience Partnership contacts into a separate table. And then listed who actually currently holds the different roles that are laid out based on minutes from a previous meeting. Other than that, the rest of this is identical to what it used to be. Great. Okay, so our action item then was to finalize our draft charter. Do I have a motion to finalize?
Motion plans.
Seconded.
Seconded, okay, great. So all in favor of finalizing the draft charter? Or any comments or questions before we vote?
Let's get her hand up.
Leslie?
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
I agree.
Okay, great. So all in favor of finalizing the charter? Everybody in the room has their hand raised, and everybody online also has their hand raised. Sorry, I'll put that up in the room so everybody can see it as well. Okay, we have officially finalized our charter. Great work, everyone. It's finally done. Fantastic. Okay, moving on in the agenda. We need to finalize the dates of our public meetings. So I'm going to turn it over to Jan, who has been talking with the community center and I think has some information to share with us.
Yeah, I spoke with Dwayne this morning, and we said we wanted to have one on a weekend and one during the week. And the 15th is the date that he can do in October, and so that's a Sunday. We do have the senior room. We have 3 hours, 4 hours in order to do setup and workshop, and also to clean up. So the 15th, I'm unclear how we really wanted to know the time. Is it 1 o'clock? Is it 2 o'clock? I don't know what people think. The other date is the 25th of October. It's a Wednesday. We didn't talk about the time. Is it 6 o'clock? Is it? I'm not sure what makes sense with our hopefully attendees. Thoughts?
I think 1 o'clock and 6 are good, Jan.
Say again, you'll have to repeat that. I couldn't hear it.
I think 1 o'clock and 6 are good, Cause it's, for the 15th, it's earlier in the day, and then 6 o'clock, I think is a good time for getting people who are out of work and any kids who wanna
Yep.
come. And it's not terribly
So
late.
1 o'clock on Sunday, the 15th of October, and 6 o'clock on the 25th of October.
Yep, I think that's good. I don't know.
And the
others.
Patriots don't even play until 4 o'clock that day. You just missed it.
I'm sorry, Evan, what did you say?
I said the Patriots don't play until 4 o'clock that Sunday.
Oh,
So you
okay,
just picked up 3 people.
well done.
Fantastic. I agree, I think those dates and times make a lot of sense, and we still have a little bit of time to decide the exact format, 90 minutes or if we
Yep.
go for 2 hours. But yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so I will confirm that with Dwayne tomorrow then.
I just want to check really quickly if anybody on Zoom has any questions or comments on the dates or availability.
Okay,
Okay. All right, let's aim for those. That sounds great. One thing I wanted to share, after chatting with Sri and Emily at Lincoln County Planning and Development Commission, is that they're available to help us facilitate. So for example, if we want to hold little breakout discussions during the public meetings, they're available to help facilitate that. They can help facilitate the entire meeting as well. And they can also connect us with experts if we want to have introductory material, say on what the impacts of climate change are expected to be in this facet, a little bit on the climate action plan, or so on. They did recommend that we communicate what the dates and times are as soon as possible and whatever expertise we want to have available so they can just confirm participation. But we do have that support available. They are also able to bring projectors, screens, and provide Zoom support and note-taking. So they can really help us to hold these meetings and help us just be there to listen and interact.
Is there a minimum number in the public that we're shooting for in terms of attendance?
I don't think we've discussed the minimum number.
Just people.
Yeah, I would say,
6 would be great.
Yeah.
yeah, minimum of
Like,
6.
I will remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm wondering is there a critical mass that has to happen in order to have this be official and logged into the application?
There is not. Let's see. Yes. Okay, all right, so I think that's pretty good for our dates. If we want to talk about outreach a little bit, since we seem to be organically there, we have discussed a number of ways to advertise the public meetings, such as the newspaper, Wiscasset Facebook group. I don't know if there's a town Facebook page, but if there is, to use that town Facebook page. The town website as well, I'm sure we can get on the calendar. I would say invitations to community groups that we think would likely be engaged and interested in this topic. They can also often reach out to community members and help get additional people to attend.
Yeah, Chamber of Commerce would be one.
That's a great idea.
They send out a weekly update,
That's,
and they did it for us on the broadband.
In fact, they'll even do a show about it if you want them to.
TV.
On the cable channel.
that's a great idea.
That could be it.
That's a really good name.
Fantastic. Okay, so Chamber of Commerce, and then flyers. So does anybody have additional suggestions, groups we should reach out to, places we should be thinking about?
I'm assuming your public schools.
Public schools?
Like, go home to all the kids.
Senior center.
Yeah, Yep, absolutely. And Senior Center, our flyers. I plan on going to Treats and putting a flyer in their community bulletin board.
And you could probably hand out flyers to people at the senior center dinner.
Oh, Senior Center dinner, that's a great idea.
Larry Rhines is the president. And he was on our broadband committee.
Okay, great. We can reach out to you. We agree to get in touch. Any suggestions on the Zoom that people would like to add?
What of those? Like having like LCRPC do it or? No, if anybody.
Any?
Oh, sorry.
I think we're covered. I'll try and think of other places, but I think we have a good list.
Great. Okay. All right, fantastic. So yeah, I think our next steps really need to be to put together a press release and disseminate that.
Cassie, I would assume that what's the group called in the Go Pet?
Go ahead.
Wouldn't they have templates of all of these kinds of things that we could just utilize and plug things into? Are there like blueprint press releases that will follow for other towns that have done this that we can use and
Yeah,
kind of like to?
we can certainly reach out to the regional coordinator, Gabe McPhail, who has examples from all the different towns in our region. So yeah, happy to reach out to her.
I think
So are you gonna, sorry, are you gonna reach out, Cassie, or should one of us reach out? What do we need to do to find out?
I'll reach out to her. I'm chatting with her tomorrow, so I'll put that on my list.
Oh, perfect.
Great, and I believe that Shri was starting to put information together, so if Shri's not available, she has colleagues in her organization that I'm sure we can reach out to and ask if they'd be able to access anything that she's prepared. And I think we already have a good start, she was saying, from our draft public survey of some language that we can start to use. Okay. Great. All right, so I think we have a good panel of ideas. I believe that Evan is our lead publicist. Evan, are you comfortable, once we have a package of information, helping to take the lead on
Yep.
reaching out?
Can do that.
Okay. And I'm sure if folks have contacts for community groups that you are happy to reach out to, please let me know and we can divide and share all of the advertising. That personal touch always helps. Okay, fantastic. All right, so moving back up a little bit, next is the draft public survey, which we started to look over last week. Pull that up here. We had talked about pulling together a draft public survey to disseminate to the public as part of our advertising ahead of our public meetings, and also to get input from members of the community who aren't able to come to the community meetings. And so based on our last meeting, I moved around questions that were already in the survey based on the really valuable feedback, particularly Lisa had fantastic input on what has been successful in previous public engagement. However, I reached out to Gabe McPhail and asked her to send us examples of some public surveys that other towns have used in their community resilience partnership enrollment process. And I think that there are some really great examples that we could probably follow. We could pick and choose what makes the most sense. The first one that I wanted to pull together or show you is North Haven. I'm gonna open this in Google Docs here. North Haven, I thought, had a particularly nice, simple questionnaire, which was something that we had talked about trying to take an approach as. So they started with the question of, or actually they had a document that they pulled together, Building Coastal Climate and Community Resilience on North Haven, which outlines some pre-work done by their climate working group. So they provided that as a reference. And then they asked some simple questions like, are people experiencing the impacts of climate change or extreme weather events on North Haven? They asked what concerns people the most. I believe these actually had multiple choice options. So are they experiencing none, yes, or no, or some? This was an open answer question, so people could write in what concerned them the most. They asked where they see opportunities for North Haven to increase resiliency to these challenges, and what they'd like to see the community and town focus on regarding environmental sustainability and climate change impacts.
Should
And
that be multiple choice?
it is, yeah, I'm gonna pull up actually from my email, the actual Google form, which is a little bit more informative.
Hey, Cassie, I haven't used Google Forms. Will Google Forms actually collect all the responses and put them together in some sort of format? Or do we have to read each one of these surveys and compile the data ourselves?
No, they will produce a digested, summarized format.
Oh, good. Okay.
For us to look through. Here we go.
And where are we going to have this reside?
So if okay, they are actually, apologies, these are just open answers. So this would be something that we could set up a Gmail account for
Okay.
this explicitly, or I would be happy to host this as well and then to do an output. I think also that our service providers would be able to help build a survey for us.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, so we have various options. So these actually were open answers. There are some other examples such as Westbrook and Kingfield that I also wanted to show you that had a little bit more complexity, but I think had some interesting options for us in their surveys. So Westbrook took the approach of they worked a little bit more with their city staff instead of climate action committee such as we have here, to do some pre-work and to produce a priority list of potential projects. And then they did public engagement. So they asked citizens how concerned they are that climate change will affect the city of Westbrook, asked them to indicate what climate hazards and impacts they're most concerned about, selecting up to 3. They asked what topics are most important for Westbrook to address as it relates to climate resilience. And so you might recognize some of these as pulled out from the major priority areas, but they don't match the priority areas of the state climate action plan one-to-one, those big 8 strategies. They pulled out things like air quality, education, environmental justice, food security, and so on. So I think they've really tailored this, but they also leave enough detail such as transportation, jobs in the economy, natural resources, and so on.
But now, are you saying this was given to the public at large in Westbrook, or was this to the municipal?
This was given to the public at large. And then they provided the public with, some potential projects that I believe their city staff had, provided a short list of. So those were stormwater retrofits, smart infrastructure, electric vehicle infrastructure, open space, agricultural conservation, and public sewer, water expansion and upgrades. And then they provided another list of, potential priority projects. Kingfield took a different approach. It's very interesting to see all the different approaches. And provided some ideas from municipal leaders as sort of an introduction, listed some examples of what other towns have done with their community action grants. And then asked people to check off categories of project types that required no match from the town for the grant application, and then asked people to check off. So they provided the full list, action list. Actually, it may not be the absolute full list, but it's quite a few options from the community action list. And they asked people to just look through this and check off, you know, not sure if it was the top few, yeah, the different types of projects that they're interested in. So this is a little bit more of a detailed approach, but I think it's an interesting one to consider as well. So any comments, questions? I wanted to bring these to you because I think we've gone back and forth a little bit on our survey. And I think there's some opportunity to balance both taking a simple approach, but maybe also getting some input on these emerging opportunities that we have, such as the municipal energy audit, the Pleasant Street extension, composting program, you know, these projects that we're really interested in getting some input on. So I'm gonna open the floor and stop talking for a few minutes.
I was looking at Brunswick's today, so they had a big poster, and I was just checking out their survey, and quite comprehensive. They say it's 5 minutes, I doubt that, so it's 20 questions, but it's severely. But they have a good design. They're actually doing their workshop on Thursday from 6 to 8, so if anybody wants to go see the preview
Oh, great.
at the Coffin School. But yeah, from Marty and I's experience doing surveys for the broadband committee, 1 page front and back, and then however it converts online. But if you ended up printing it out and it's 1 page front and back, that's about as much as people can handle. And that you're gonna get valuable responses from, I think. At some point, the second half, if it's too long, the second half of the survey goes to waste and people skip through it.
Bother.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we had talked, just to look at ours again, we had pulled together something that asked people what climate change and climate resilience mean to them. To indicate to us the kinds of climate actions that they think Wiscasset should take. So if they want to give a few examples, and then if they want to list any examples of climate progress that Wiscasset has already taken. This is just a place to start. We can blow this up, we can add, we can subtract. Really curious to think what you all.
I actually really liked the first question on the, North Haven. What was the first one, North Haven?
Are you experiencing impact
Yeah.
of climate change?
Like, because I think it'd be interesting to know what people have to say about that, what they would qualify as climate change and how it might be actually affecting them right now. I think that would give everybody a really good idea of maybe where the community is on it, what they're experiencing. So I kind of liked, I like the simplicity of that, but I also like that it was a question that potentially could engage people.
I like the format of the Westbrook survey. I think a multiple choice option is really, it keeps it easier for folks, and it seemed well organized and easy to follow. So, maybe we could do a little bit of the North Haven and the Westbrook survey. If we like the questions, like Lisa's comment about that question, maybe we can combine the two.
I mean, in some ways, the first question of Westbrook and the first question of North Haven are somewhat.
That's true.
Yeah, so I think that's, I guess I'm where you are, Leslie.
Yeah. I think multiple choice is the way to go. Well, as much as possible. It just doesn't, people don't get bogged down too much.
Multiple choice is good, but if we have the ability, well, it depends on how many people, if we don't get 6 people, it's not the point, but if you have more than that, the idea of breaking into working groups on some of these would make some sense, I think, just to come back and share what each group sort of has as their topic. To maybe dial down a little bit more on some of the options.
I
Yeah,
really,
Go ahead.
go ahead. I'll jump in. I agree. I really like these 2 questions. I also like North Haven's question. I agree that if we get a lot of feedback, that multiple choice would be great for faster data analysis. I think I really also like this 3rd question of what
Yeah,
are
same.
all topics.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is where we could really draw from to have any breakout or smaller group discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
People could self-select into whichever
Whatever
area
one's
they're
interested in,
really
right.
interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the Westbrook survey quite a bit.
Yeah.
And number 3 there, we could eliminate a few of those just to simplify it a bit.
Like air quality is probably not
Right.
as large of a concern here.
Education, public awareness, which is what we're doing already. So,
I think I'd leave that in because public schools could be one.
I like how that sort of aligns to the 8 strategic categories, because really, I mean, we are sort of constrained to stay within those categories on the CRP, right?
Yes, yes. Somewhat, although if we come up with something really unique and a gap area, that's a gap
Yeah.
area. The state is restarting, or they're renewing the state climate action plan for an update in 2024. And that process actually kicks off in 2 weeks. And I can
Okay.
tell you there's some gap areas that they didn't get to in the first round. So if we prioritize an area that isn't in the state climate action plan, I think that sends a signal to the state that they need to pay attention to that as well. Okay, so we like this question. We want to tailor it a little bit
Yeah.
for Wisconsin. So maybe remove air quality?
Well, no, I'm not sure I'm there yet, only from the standpoint that 2 weeks ago, I think a lot of people would say that they felt Canadian wildfire smoke in
That's
the
very
air. And my partner's 80 and he went out for a walk and it definitely impacted. So I'm not so sure. I think the air quality doesn't affect us, absolutely.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, wildfire smoke is definitely
Yeah.
an air quality issue.
And I think it's gonna become more of them. So, what, I don't know, you guys chime in. I think that the ones that I don't personally understand, and I think they might be valid, I need to understand a little bit better. Environmental justice, I hear that term tossed around a lot, I really have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
Food security, I think, is huge, but again, I'd kind of like to get a better understanding from you as to how does that apply, or how would you define that for this thing? Infrastructure is the same. Those are the ones. Natural resources, again, I understand what that means, but those are broad brush things, and I struggle with how does that relate, or what does that mean for Wiscasset, or how would you? So those are the ones that I would have some questions about. And just, not that they shouldn't be there, but wanting to understand better what they are and how they are specifically related to Wiscasset.
The Brunswick one has like most of these, and then I have an example of 2 or 3
Okay.
quick ones. So like climate justice, increased social inequity, food insecurity and hunger. Same thing with what you're saying about climate migration. What else? What else did you just tackle?
Natural resources, which the other one, structure, like what does that mean?
Infrastructure, flooding, disruption of transportation, so road washouts, culvert repairs, things like that.
Water and sewer,
Okay,
yeah.
Might be helpful for these examples to add, you know, i.e., e.g., 1 or 2
Yeah,
examples.
yeah, exactly.
Just so that, I mean, if people are still lost at environmental justice, there's Google.
Yeah.
Well, what is, and then,
Yeah, certainly.
Right, those people aren't taking the survey in the first place,
right,
for the most part.
exactly.
Yeah, certainly. Environmental justice has a specific meaning in environmental quality, like the EPA has designated environmental justice communities. These are communities that have historically experienced a lot of pollution or disproportionate industry, citing of industry, or say a road disproportionately tends to get put through
Right.
communities of color. These are often referred to as environmental
Okay.
justice
All right.
communities.
That makes total sense.
Not
Yeah.
super relevant for us, but it is.
It's,
It
it is, yeah, I
We can't fix
disagree.
what
Less than Vermont.
We can't fix where Yankee is 30 years later, but.
Yeah,
we can try.
yeah, we can get into, there's a whole
Okay.
discussion around that,
Yep.
but, okay, so,
Okay,
so we wanna tailor this a little bit, I think, but, maybe look at the Brunswick survey, but I think, we can come back at our next. Let's see, this is where we're gonna have to wrestle a little bit with the timing, because our next meeting
second,
is October 2nd, which is only 2 weeks before, less than 2 weeks before the first public meeting. So,
Yeah, I'm fully on board, we're not drag it out, put something out there, it's not gonna be perfect, we're not gonna like everything, just
We
gotta
might not
shove
even
it,
get a lot of
just gotta shove it out
responses.
the door. Me and Marty have been on one where we did 6 weeks of back and forth meetings and emails, and it's not fun, and it doesn't matter.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
Agreed.
as long as we get something up there.
yeah. So, I
Want
guess
to do a
I would,
subcommittee, put it together,
Yeah,
I would
have it ready
propose,
for the
yeah.
next meeting, that's good.
yeah, I would propose perhaps the CRP working group, take all of this input, work together to finalize this and get this out, get this ready to go. We will run it by the community or by the rest of the committee. But unless we want to hold a special one-off Zoom meeting before the next October 2nd meeting, to formally approve the materials for the, or the public survey.
okay, well, I get what you're saying. But seems like there's an awful lot of work here, frankly.
it's a ton of work.
Yeah, so, I mean, you personally, you need to edit that list, we need to edit that list. I think you're dead on, I think there needs to be examples, short, concise, and sweet, probably for each one. It needs to be edited, but whatever the edits are, I think there still needs to be a really concise, simple example of what that might be, because there are a lot of people that even though everybody here thinks they know it, they don't. Not us, but, so I think that's critical. I'm so happy that you're taking on marketing with this thing, but you do have to think about, and you guys know you've done this in Wiscasset, but you do have to think about, you have to make it somewhat compelling. You have to make the message somewhat compelling, you have to make whatever the image or whatever it is, I mean, it has to be something that someone goes, oh, that looks interesting, I'm gonna go to that. So while I think, yeah, we have to slam it through and get it done, I also think it shouldn't be sloppy, I think it needs to be pulled together, I
Oh,
think
no,
it needs to
no,
be
certainly, we'll make it,
well thought out.
well thought out, but I think, it's a matter of, as a committee, do we want to finalize this at our next October 2nd meeting and only have less than 2 weeks for public input on the survey for the first public meeting?
Well, the other concern, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but what are we now? We're the 18th. We're meeting again on the 2nd. The first workshop is 15. I mean, you need at least 2.5 weeks to get your marketing materials out there. They should be in the community, I would think, 10 days before this thing happened,
I think we need to actually
right?
disseminate them 2 weeks before our first meeting. So that would be from the 15th, October 1st.
They need to be out.
We need to get a press release out the door. So I would like to propose that we hold a Zoom meeting in about a week or a week and a half to finalize these materials. And the CRP working group, maybe Lisa, if you consent to also work with us a little bit. Because you have really, I think, valuable input. We'll work to give everybody, the committee, a few days to review materials before that Zoom meeting, and then hold the Zoom meeting in about a week and a half, so that we can meet that October 1st publishing or press. deadline.
Does that
You
sound,
include the Brunswick one too. Survey, Brunswick kid.
We'll review that as
Sounds
well.
are you comfortable with that, you guys, to get it out of the first and?
Yep, sure. I probably won't even be able to attend the next Zoom meeting, so I'm completely confident you guys will put something amazing.
Well, I'm actually really interested in hoping that there is some kind of a template done for this stuff, so that we don't have to, I can't imagine if there's not.
Oh, yeah, we can definitely copy and paste
Yeah,
it.
exactly, well, then that would be helpful, if particularly if something is worth
No
better. for us to do.
reinventing the wheel
Right.
here.
Right, okay. Cassie, you're gonna look into that,
Yes,
the templates?
yeah, I'll get them tomorrow.
Great.
Sorry.
Okay,
I'm a little unclear about what we're really doing here. Are we as a small group getting together to review these surveys and then presenting it to the committee? And what are the dates? I need a little clarity here.
yes, so yes, we're proposing the CRP working group is going to finalize the survey and also a draft press release together with support from our service providers. In time for a special Zoom meeting in about a week and a half. And so we need to look at dates.
Yep,
And we can run the survey right through to our second meeting, right?
Yes, or even after.
Because we can advertise the survey at the meeting as well.
Yes,
People can fill it out.
absolutely. So a week and a half, I would say, let's aim for either September 28th, which is a Thursday, or Friday the 29th. Will anybody be out of town or have any major preferences for either date?
That's September.
in the evening?
September 28th sounds good.
yep, I'm with that, September 28th.
Okay. Is 6 o'clock a good time for everybody? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Okay, so,
Cassie, you'll get the templates tomorrow and then you'll share the templates with the CRP working group. We'll have to start emailing back and forth and start working on things and then get them finalized by September 28th.
yes.
Okay.
Who's
Thanks,
leading that?
Katie.
Who leads this group? Are you, okay, all right.
That predated becoming the
Okay.
committee chair. Okay, so our action items. Okay, the CRP working group to press release and public survey. September 28th, 6 p.m. meeting, disseminating at least 1 to 2 days ahead of time. we'll try to give everybody as much time as we can, given
So what would be,
schedules.
but what would be most helpful to you? Should all of us take a crack at some of these things and send you, how do you wanna do that?
I would say I'll get the working group together and review what we need to do. I would say if you have strong feelings about specific wording, examples, we could actually decide today if we want to grab if we want to follow a specific example survey. And then if anybody has additional thoughts in between meetings, you could send those to us, either on that or the press release language.
Personally, I'd rather take some time and go home and sit down and look at those surveys a little bit better and then
Okay.
kind of think about how it will last for me. I don't know, you guys,
But we can't make a decision tonight.
yeah.
Okay, great. So we want to ask our committee members to review example public surveys and share suggestions with CRP working group.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're working towards Evan starts. What notices by October 1st.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Great, everybody. We have a quick time check. From our time.
5:07.
So, okay, awesome. 7:07.
I see those links are active in my Google Drive, right? In North
Yes,
Haven.
yes, they are. They're active in the Google Drive agenda that everybody
Alright.
received by email.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Great. I think we're doing really well. So once we get the public survey going, we'll then have a couple of weeks, also working with our service providers and any experts to pull any materials together that we want and need for the public meetings. So we'll have a little bit of wiggle room there.
When did you say Brunswick is this Thursday?
Yep.
6 to 8,
6 to 8 at the Coffin School.
conference school?
Coffin, COFFIN, with the address.
Yeah, please.
It is.
Thanks.
You can send it to me.
Yeah, it's 20 Barrow Street, BARROWS. And I emailed the link to their climate action page and the survey.
Great.
Great.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Okay. Fantastic. All right, so that was a lot on the Community Resilience Partnership items, but does anybody have additional questions, concerns, comments that they want to make before we switch to our emerging opportunities work group update? How about in the Zoom room, anybody online? Okay, great. So next, we're gonna switch and have a palate cleanser and talk about emerging opportunities. So Marty, I know you attended the September 7th presentation from Sunrise Ecologic, and I was hoping you could speak a little bit about what you learned at that.
And I asked all the questions, most of the questions, but I think you sent a link to people to see what transpired, and basically, I was able to find out that I confirmed it, that Sheree and John Snell would be willing to propose a energy audit. And I just spoke with Dennis, the town manager, and he's willing to look at other options besides Johnson Control. that kind of sums it up, and I'm not sure if Sheree wants to still be involved in this with being sick, or we could go directly with John Snow.
So I think,
I mean, she was the one who made the proposal to, meet with us and come up with a proposal, and during the, online, she had suggested, or I should say, John mentioned that it would be $2,000 that they might be able to get from the climate resilience fund. To me, it didn't sound like it was tapping the $50,000, it was extra funds that are in that group. So, I didn't get that confirmed, but we could find that
okay, yeah, one question I had was just where they proposed the funding would be to do the, just the proposal, right, to the town.
out. Right, well, they would be the one to get the proposal, and then you'll have to figure out where we want to do the funding. It's gonna be a lot less than $75,000. May not be quite as detailed as the Johnson Controls is offering, but, $75,000 means that's a lot of money to have an energy audit and specific things to do. So, even if, and then you're locked into what they're offering, you're not looking at other options, so John comes up with all the options we could consider. The town wants to go with Johnson Control and say, hey, well, put this into your proposal. I hate to see a proposal saying, this is it, do the whole thing, and that's it, you know? You should pick and choose the most, return on investment projects. And what we get support. Dennis also mentioned that he has spoke with, Kim Anderson, the superintendent, and she's interested in, going with the solar farm type to generate the electricity. So maybe it would be cheaper to, I mean, John estimated the 2 solar farms would probably, because he had the electrical usage from Johnson Control. He said the 2 solar farms in itself would probably be $1.5 million. So, conceivably, the town might not go, the school committee might. So, that's an option.
So that would be 2 solar farms.
That's what they were proposing in their, one at the school and one at the community center.
Just, those are site specific.
That's what they're recommending. They're not considering
That's from the Johnson Controls people.
Johnson Control.
Right.
They're not considering the old dump. People are building solar farms on top of dumps, and that's really the best space to put it. We don't have.
If it can work there.
Right. We don't have 3-phase wire there.
No, are you sure? I think the
I
transfer
don't know
station,
about
I think the transfer station
It
does.
was probably needed, so you could get it from that direction.
Yeah.
It didn't go up.
If it's large enough,
27.
if it's large enough, they would try to make you build a substation anyway, depending on how many acres, how many megawatts you're talking about. But anyway, yes.
I think another question, and this might be a place where we could ask our service providers, is maybe to look at, other towns in Maine that have done energy audits, because I believe some of them have,
Yeah,
just to get a sense for what the amount was, and, just to help us get a ballpark of what's a reasonable proposal. I'd be happy to ask.
it looked like, I went through the list of some of the people that are doing this, and it looked like some of the towns up north have done energy audits. I don't know if they're, that's me.
Great. I know on the Community Resilience Partnership website, I don't know if anybody has poked around the website, but, there's, an interactive map.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good idea.
All of the Community Action Grant awards, so you can click around and see what other towns have done with their awards. A bit hard to see there, but if you pop this out, it's easier to see across. So there are more details here about Bridgeton did an open space plan, and see St. George assess vulnerable infrastructure and that sort of thing. So we can get a sense of whether there are other towns that have done energy audits.
So do we need a motion to see whether or not John Snow will give us a proposal? Or should I just go ahead and do it?
We should go ahead and do it.
And thanks for doing that. Okay, so Jan,
The other
did
option is, energy efficiency man. We'll find out whether or not they have recommend auditors.
yes, I think that they'll talk with any town about different options and how to go about
Check.
any fibers. I think my only request is that just to, if you could get clarification on that they're doing the pitch for the energy audit separately from the work with us for the community resilience partnership application. Okay,
I'll copy it. What
thanks, Mike. Okay, any other emerging opportunities working group updates?
Yeah, Jan and I have one. We had a great conversation with Rebecca Jacobs, who's a project manager with Knox Lincoln County Soil and Water Conservation District, about the Pleasant Street extension restoration. And they agreed that this project is a great fit with their organization, and they would love to provide some sort of engagement level. They're proposing a partnership to develop a conservation plan, and they'll help us co-write the grants, apply for permits, et cetera, et cetera. So they were excited. It feels like a really good fit. We've got a site walk scheduled for October 24 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then we'll have a 1-hour discussion as a combination with the site walk, and along with Knox and Lincoln County Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm hoping that we'll have Brian Emerson from the Nature Conservancy, and a woman who is the president of the Maine Association of Wetland Scientists. So I think we're finally getting the right folks on board to have conversations and make sure that we have a good plan to move the project forward. So if anybody on the committee wants to join us, October 24th, 10 a.m. down at the Pleasant Street Extension, please come on down.
That's great. Leslie, is this something that you think we should advertise to the public at all, to join the walk and the discussion?
No, I don't think so. I think we're still just gathering information, coming up with a plan, trying to determine next steps, possible sources of funding, how we want to make this happen. And so my thought was, since this is already passed, the select board has approved it, we had a public meeting, that we would develop a plan and then just share that information via the local newspaper, give folks an update that way, and let them know we're working on it and what the vision is. What do you think, Jan? You're on mute.
I agree with it, because I think we just need to get our ducks in a row to make sure this is really going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
Great, thank you. Okay, that's really exciting progress.
Another subject, ready to move on. For Peter, there, as far as I know, I haven't seen it advertised, but there's a meeting with the Maine Yankee on Thursday at 4 o'clock at the, Roadhouse,
Monthly restaurant.
Sweet Restaurant.
Yep.
Upstairs. So if you're interested in asking questions there, the question I would have is, are they doing anything as far as possibly doing a solar farm there? They have plenty of property. But you're welcome to attend.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Awesome. Alrighty. So great updates from our emerging opportunities working group. Any other business? We have about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure we give a few minutes for public comment on the non-agenda items if there are any. Any other business? Online, in room? Nope. Okay. So I'm gonna open it up for public comment on any non-agenda items from any folks online. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. I know you're a member of one of our working groups. Was there anything you wanted to share, updates since your presentation a couple weeks ago?
No, thank you for putting those notes in the minutes.
Absolutely.
We're good, thank you.
Absolutely. And I know you requested to set up a mailing list. Right now that, for interested people following this committee, right now that just consists of me emailing people, but I will reach out to the town to see if there's any interested members of the public or a list that we could set up.
Do we have, sorry. Do we approve the minutes while I was gone?
We did not approve minutes. Thank you for the reminder.
Yes.
Wait, it was September 6th one?
September 6th. Oh, we did approve minutes.
Yeah.
Yes,
We did.
Yeah.
we did approve minutes.
Cool. Would,
Thank you, thank you. Okay. All right, so our next meeting is scheduled for October 2nd. I confirmed we do not have this meeting room available. I am still working with the town to see if there is an alternate meeting room that we can.
we have a meeting with the fire department on the other side. I don't know if it's busy that night.
Great.
That's our second location for a few couple meetings we've had.
So I'll make a note here, so Cassie to check out. Thank you. And in the event that that is not available, I will propose a Zoom, full Zoom meeting. Okay.
That was a small meeting room at the Stafford Community Center. Us anyway,
Great, okay, that'll, I'll also.
maybe one table this big, so. a little bit crazy.
Fantastic. All right. Any other business questions, concerns before we adjourn? All right, I think this is a record. We are ending early. I'll give you 7 minutes back in your evening. Thank you all very much. And I look forward to seeing you on September 28th.
Thank you, Cassie. Great job.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Take care.